Chapter 8. Chapter 8. The Feelings Economy. In 1920s, women didn't smoke, or if they did, they were severely judged for it. It was taboo, like graduating from a college or getting elected to Congress. Smoking, people believed back then, should be left to the men. Honey, you might hurt yourself, or worse, you might burn your beautiful hair. This posed a problem for a tobacco industry. Here you had a 50% of your population not smoking their cigarette for no other reason than it was unfashionable or seen as impolite. This would not do. As George Washington Hill, president of American Tobacco Company, said at the time, it's gold mine right in front out ad. The industry tried multiple times to market uh, cigarette to women, but nothing ever seemed to work. The cultural prejudice against it was simply too ingrained, too deep. Then in 1920s, the American Tobacco Company hired Edward Burney, a young hot-shot marketer with a wild idea and even wilder marketing campaign. Burney's marketing tactics at the time were unlikely anybody else in the advertising industry. Advertising industry. Back in the early 19th century, marketing was seen as sim, simply as a means of communicating the tangible, real benefit of the product in the simplest and most conscious form possible. It was believed that at the time that people bought product based on the fact and information. If someone wanted to buy cheese, then you had to communicate to them the fact of why your cheese was superior. Fresh French got milk cured 12 days, shipped refrigerated. People were seen as a rational actor making a rational purchasing decision for themselves. It was classic assumption. The thinking brain was in the cards. Charge. But Bernays was unconventional. Verne was unconventional. He didn't believe that people made rational decisions most of the time. He believed the opposite. He believed that people were emotional and impulsive and just hide it really well. He believed the feeling brain was in the charge and nobody had quite realized it. Whereas the tobacco industry had been and focused on persuading individual women to buy and smoke cigarettes through the logical argument. Bernays saw it as an emotional and cultural issue. If he wanted women to smoke, then he had to appeal not to their thought but to their values. He needed to appeal to women's identities. To accomplish this, Bernays hired a group of women and got them into a Easter Sunday parade in New York City. Today, big holiday parades are cheesy things you let drawn on over the television while you fall asleep on the couch. But back in those days, parade was a big social event, kind of like the Super Bowl or the something. As a Bernays planned it, at the appropriate moment, the women would all stop and light up the cigarette at the same time. Sorry, he hired a photographer to take a flattering photo of smoking women, who is he then passed out to all the major national newspaper. He told the reporter that these ladies were not just lighting cigarettes; they were lighting torch of freedom, demonstrating demonstrating the ability to assert their independence and their own women. It was all fake news, of course, but Bernays staged it as a political protest. He knew this would trigger the appropriate emotion in the women across the country. Feminists had won women the right to vote only 9 years earlier. Women were now walking outside the home and becoming more integral of the country's economic life. They were asserting themselves by cutting their hair short, wearing racier clothing. This generation of women saw themselves as the first generation that could behave independently of the men, and many of them felt very strongly about this. If Barnes could just his smoking equals freedom message onto the women's liberation movement, well, tobacco sale would double, and he would be rich man. He would be rich man. It worked. Women started smoking, and ever since we have had equal opportunity in lung cancer. Burners want to pull off this kind of cultural cop regularly throughout the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. He completely revolutionized the marketing industry and invented a field of public relations in the process, paying sexy celebrities to use your product. That was Burney's idea, creating fake news articles that are actually subtle advertisement for the company. All he sta- staking controversial public event as means to draw attention and notoriety for a client. Barnes pretty much every form of marketing and publicity we are subjected to today began with a Barnes. But here's something else interesting about Barnes. He was Sigmund Freud nephew. Sigmund Freud nephew. Freud was infamous because he was the first modern thinker to argue that it was feeling brain that was really driving the consciousness car. Freud believed that people's insecurities and shame drove them to make a bad decision, to overindulge, or to compensate for what they felt they lacked. Freud was the only who realized that you have cohesive identity theories, sorry, cohesive identities, stories in our minds that we tell about ourselves, and that we are emotionally attached to those stories and will fight to maintain them. Freud argued that at the end of the day, we are animals, impulsive and selfish and emotional. Freud spent most of his life broke. He was a cute, quite sensational, quite 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 sensational European intellectual, isolated, erudite, deeply philosophical. But Bernays was an American. He was practical. He was driven. Folk philosophy. He wanted to be rich, and boy, did Freud's idea translate through the lens of marketing, deliver in the big ways through through Freud, Fred, through Fred. Barnes understood something nobody else in the business had understood before before him, that if you can tap into people's insecurities, they will buy just about any damn thing you tell them to do. Tell them to. Trucks are marketed to men as a way to assert strength and the reliability. Makeup is marketed to women as a way to be more loved and garner more attention. Beer is marketed as the way to have a fun and to be center of attention at a party. This is all marketing under one. This is all marketing, of course, and today it's celebrated as a business as usual. One of the first things you learn when you study marketing is how to find customer pain points and then suddenly make them feel worse. The idea is that you needle the people's shame and insecurities and then turn around and tell your product will resolve that same and rid them of that insecurities. Put another way to market. Put another way. Marketing especially identifies or accentuate the customer moral gap and then offer a way to fill 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 them.